The Czechoslovak Federative Republic, which was comprised of two prominent nationalities, the Czechs and the Slovaks, dissolved peacefully in 1992 into the Czech Republic and Slovakia, without a referendum and with most citizens disagreeing with that dissolution. But why were these nations even united in the first place? Sure, their languages are mutually intelligible, but with that justification, all of Mexico and Central and South America should be united into one superstate. To find out why Czechoslovakia ever existed, we'll have to go back only 100 some years, back to the emerging calls for self-determination from the nationalities of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and in particular focus on one man, namely Tomáš Masaryk. For most of history, from the medieval ages onwards, the Czech and Slovak peoples found themselves living in the lands known as Bohemia, Silesia, Moravia, and Nitra, which, in modern days, would be called Slovakia. Due to historical happenstance, the Czechs, living mainly in Bohemia and Moravia, found themselves in the Holy Roman Empire, while the Slovaks found themselves in the Kingdom of Hungary, which was later conquered by the Ottomans, and then eventually by the Austrians, who by this time had also absorbed the Kingdom of Bohemia. The Kingdom of Bohemia including, of course, Bohemia itself, but also Moravia and Silesia, due to intermarital, that is to say, Habsburg, shenanigans. 150 years later, after the Austrians made peace with the huge Hungarian revolt, which had almost broken them, the Kingdom of Hungary was created, giving Hungary equal status to Austria. The Slovaks, shown in brown, did not get that much representation in the Hungarian parliament, in contrast to the Czechs, shown in blue, who got representation in the Austrian parliament. Overall, the Poles, Ukrainians, Croats, Slovenes, Italians, and Czechs living in the Austrian part of the empire were given more political representation than those Serbs, Croats, Romanians, and Slovaks living in the Hungarian part of the empire, which was also known as the land of the Crown of St. Stephen. This is due mainly to the Hungarian Revolution, which showed Austria's weaknesses. They could probably not have beaten it if they hadn't gotten the Russians' help. So, this forced them to give Hungary autonomy. They did this by splitting their empire into Cisleithania, shown in red, and Transleithania, shown in green. These were both technically sovereign states, ruled by the same king. They shared the military and their foreign policy, but domestically, they were relatively separate. You can see from this map that there were some pretty big differences between Cisleithania, shown in red, and Transleithania, shown in green. First of all, Cisleithania is split into many different administrative regions, and also Cisleithania is not majority Austrian or majority German, but rather split between the Germans, Czechs, Poles, Ukrainians, and Slovenes. In contrast, the Hungarian part of the empire, Transleithania, or the land of the Crown of St. Stephen, there were two administrative regions. It was as one big administrative region, and that region was massively Hungarian, which meant that in any vote, the Hungarians would always have a majority. Over time, Bohemia would develop into the most industrialized part of the empire, with the largest arms factory, the Škoda Works. In 1914, when a certain Franz Ferdinand was shot in Bosnia, Europe went to war. This is where you might expect some kind of internal resistance from the Habsburg subjects, based on modern biases about the Austro-Hungarian Empire. But in reality, most nationalists sought not to overthrow the Habsburgs by means of armed or political resistance, but rather gain favor in any post-war settlement of the nationalities of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, mostly through demonstrations of loyalty. Most descent from Czechs and Slovaks came from immigré groups. Many Austro-Hungarians living abroad suddenly found themselves in enemy territory and subject to detainment, which prompted the creation of a Czech committee in Britain and an equivalent organization in France. These organizations distributed identity cards to its members, which protected them from detainment. In the US, most Czechs and Slovaks were loyal to their home country and supported the Habsburgs. In Austria-Hungary itself, there were debates among Czech deputies about whether it would be better for them to support the Habsburgs or support Russia. Russia being the main supporter of Slav independence in general. The newspaper Chas, which means time, run by a group centered around Tomáš Masaryk, notably speculated about what might happen if the Entente won the war and how the Czechs might take advantage of that. Tomáš Masaryk would go into exile to promote the Czechoslovak cause, along with his associate Edvard Beneš. Masaryk went to London to promote the Czechoslovak cause in the English-speaking world, while Beneš went to Paris to promote it in France, soon joined by Milan Václavič Štěpánek, a Slovak serving in the French Air Force. Then, in 1918, Woodrow Wilson, the President of the United States, presented his 14 points to the world. Among them, Clause 10 promised that the peoples of Austria-Hungary should be accorded the freest opportunity of autonomous development. Suddenly, Masaryk's cause was being supported by the United States of America.